I want to start today, as well as end today, with a word of thanks. Some of you may know that this is Coca-Cola's 125th year. And in fact, just a few days ago, we celebrated our 125th birthday. And many of you in the room have been working on the brand that I have the privilege of working with much longer than I have. So thank you to all of you. And for those of you that may work for the other brand, thank you anyway, just for being here. But thank you very much. Again, I want to start with that and end with that. I also want to start with some of the conversations I've heard over the past day and a half that kind of surprised me. And it was people questioning the agenda. And it was, unfortunately, far more than I can count on both hands. I heard people saying, too much digital. It's not reflective of the spend. I actually heard one person, and let me pull out the quote here, TV rules and always will. That was after quite a few drinks 2 nights ago at the Black Pearl. And it really concerned me because I'm another digital guy coming up. And I thought, wow, they probably don't want to hear much more from me. So let me share with you a caveat, and that is that I am a digital guy. And as you can see, I'm here to talk very specifically, primarily about social. But it's that I do agree that many other platforms, many other mediums are not getting the attention they deserve. Firmly agree with those people that made those statements. But that I also agree, and I know that just about everybody here does agree as well, that the optimal mix and the synchronicity and the orchestration of working things together is obviously what's going to win. And we all know that. But for those of you that made those comments, I very respectfully, very humbly say thank you, but wake up. Look at the data that Rim just shared with us. That was fascinating. Digital is providing something to us now that we've never had. And for a while, we haven't known what to do with it. But now we do. And I'm going to try and share some perspective with you. Can you roll that first video?
The story begins like many. 2 friends meet for a Coke to share a moment of joy and refreshment. On this particular day, these 2 friends had a thought. If Coke can bring 2 people together, can it bring 200? How about 2,000? Or more? So they created a Facebook page, and it worked. People noticed. So Coca-Cola partnered with the creators, enlisted a few industry experts and digital agency 360i, and together designed a system to efficiently share and engage both locally and globally. They gave fans more ways to express themselves and interact with other fans from around the corner to across the globe. They offered the community new liquid content that moved and inspired, linked across mediums and to measurable results, that offered fun ways for fans to interact with their brand. Along the way, a wonderful thing happened. The more they highlighted how others loved Coca-Cola, the more people shared. The result is a unique and growing community that thrives because of its members' passion for creating and sharing their personal experiences with their brand. Coca-Cola's Facebook community started with a belief that millions of fans later, Coke has helped prove true. That if you give people a place to share, a place to laugh, smile, and talk, if you give them a place to express what their brand means to them, then sometimes all it really takes to bring us together is a Coke.
So my role at the Coca-Cola Company is the privilege of working from the center with a very small team that's generally there to kind of provide some thought leadership, some global strategy, and most importantly, common solutions to our nearly 3,000 marketers around the world. We've got nearly 500 brands in 200 plus countries and some incredibly aggressive goals. Our goals are to double our business in 10 years. So it took us 124 years to grow. We want to double in just 10 years. That's a hell of a big number. It's from 1.6 billion servings a day to well over 3 billion servings a day. And we can't get there doing things the old-fashioned way. In fact, it's going to be a challenge to get there in any way. But I share that with you just to show you the great challenge that's there. And my role from the center is, frankly, to share with you some of the great work being done by some other folks. And also to dial back on that real provocative wake-up stance. My job is to make people uncomfortable at Coca-Cola Company, and to recognize that what's made us famous and what's made us do very well is sight, sound, and motion. And you know what? Sight, sound, and motion isn't all that different. You know, at the end of the day, TV commercials are video. Video is where? Video is YouTube. YouTube is social. What you do on YouTube jumps to Facebook, jumps to Twitter. So this world isn't all that new. We're all actually working in much the same space. We just need to change the paradigm in how we do some things. So my job is to recognize some trends that are out there and, again, to build some strategy. And this is something that won't surprise any of you, but it's important for us to kind of recognize and realize is that all of us have built our business on campaigns. And we've worked really hard at Coca-Cola to prepare for the Olympics and put together great plans, and we spent lots and lots of money, and then we got all the way up to the crescendo, and then the Olympics ended, and we stopped. And we started all over again. We worked really hard, spent lots and lots of money for the FIFA World Cup, and spent ridiculous amounts of money, patted ourselves on the back and said what a great job we did regardless of the results, and then it ended. And we treated these consumers as if we've never ever met them. We all know how silly that is nowadays, but it's the advent of CRM, the advent of digital, and the advent of these social relationships that are allowing us to never start from zero again. You know, right now we've got this great privilege of having nearly 27 million people on this Facebook fan page, and it certainly isn't all about Facebook. It's more about the culture and the social change that social's enabling. You know, whether it's SciWorld or it's Hives or it's QQ or it's High Five, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the day, as fast as I can type, which isn't that fast on my RIM device, I can talk to 27 million people right now in less than 20 seconds. Well, you know better than I do what that used to cost just a few years ago. Very, very powerful. Now, at the end of the day, there's very little that I'll probably say to 27 million people around the world with different cultures and different languages, but the potential is there. And much more importantly, the subset of that 27 million people in every city around the world is culturally relevant to what we're doing in that space. And that's what this technology allows us to do. So it's another trend that I'm watching and that I have to recognize. It's the power of the impression. And the power, again, of the history of Coca-Cola is about sight, sound, and motion. It's about big billboards in city centers all around the world. And it's about being ubiquitous. We call it painting the town red. But it's also about the recognition that in many cases an expression is often more valuable than an impression, certainly more measurable. And an expression will be a comment, a like, an upload, a voting of whether I like a product or not, grading. So this all comes to one piece that I want to share with you, and it's no big secret. In fact, it's not even all that provocative. It's simply that our strategy when it comes down to this space is simply to be everywhere our consumers are, but in the social spaces, to be so as a value-adding member of the community in a non-big brand way. Very different than what Coke does in every other medium. It's to recognize where we came from. In almost every social medium, consumers were there before we got there. So most brands had to figure out what to do with this thing called Twitter, or what to do with this thing called Second Life, or what to do with YouTube and Facebook. In every single case, we didn't have to figure out what to do with it. In every single case, people were there before we were and already assembling around our brand. Wow. That's an incredible privilege. So we've always got to stay true to that and kind of remember that. So we spend the majority of our efforts really enabling them to do more of what they went there for in the first place. And that's to talk to each other and to share their manifestations of their brand with each other. Not, they haven't opted in to have our advertising blasted at them. And they certainly haven't opted in to have massive offers thrown at them. So we're very different than an awful lot of brands, and we've got to keep that true to our strategy. Now that said, digital and technology allow us to utilize and harness this very specifically to target and achieve our business objectives. And I'm going to share with you a couple of campaigns that are hot off the press. I'm going to show you two videos, both of which were recorded within the past week, one on Saturday and one on Friday. So extremely hot off the press. Forgive me if they're not perfectly edited, but I wanted to come to you with brand new material that you may not have seen. So that said, before we lead into that, I want to make one thing clear. We subscribe to a localized single brand page approach. What does that mean? That means that we don't say that we're right and someone else is wrong. It's a very, very new space, and what works for some companies may not work for others. But for us, this single brand page approach we think is extremely effective, extremely efficient, and most importantly, it's actually safer for the company. It's an awful lot less front doors, an awful lot less places to be attacked. And when it comes to most social partners right now, they allow the localization to leverage that mothership approach. So this is a little bit about what that looks like. This is simply a home tab from one of our participating markets. You can see that the promo tile at the top, we allow markets to have up to 5 different local promotions. So there's one Coca-Cola page is what I'm referring to. It's facebook.com/Coca-Cola, not facebook.com/Coca-Cola US, Britain, South Africa, Italy, etc. We put everything in one place. It allows us to certainly have very localized fans-first content, very localized content that is about these consumers sharing their manifestations of their brand. It allows us to always talk about our page creators and our partners. These creators aren't people that we've worked with and that have simply gone by the wayside. You'll see in the next couple of videos I show you that we're working with them on a weekly basis and very often a daily basis. We really remain true to that kind of ethical and sometimes, yeah, more of an ethical compass of where we come from. And again, you'll see that in a few moments. And then we've always got local language translation. This is what that looks like in YouTube. In YouTube, again, there's simply youtube.com/Coca-Cola. Not per country, per country, per country, per country, per country. It then dynamically serves you up localized sight, sound, and motion, a localized language from that market. Doesn't sound like rocket science. However, very few brands are doing this. So I want to spend just a second talking to you about this notion of liquid and linked. And it's a notion that simply says our content, at this point, we've heard content is king, and I couldn't agree more. It's funny how things kind of come in full circle. Content is king. And our content's got to be liquid. It's got to be intended to flow anywhere and everywhere. And whether it's intended or not, it's going to flow anywhere and anywhere or everywhere. And in fact, it may surprise you at some of the places it actually ends up. But it's got to be perfectly linked to our brand objectives and our brand aspirations. And that takes an awful lot of science, takes an awful lot of prior planning, and doesn't leave room for chance. We don't believe in sticking our toe in the water and trying things out. You know, an awful lot of people say they're testing things. Don't believe in that whatsoever. There's far too much at risk to test and to play. We only work with pros in the business and people that can scale to meet our opportunities. So I won't go through this entire thing here, but we think that dynamic storytelling that is liquid and linked requires a whole bunch of things. This is just a short list that I've come up with, and one is you got to have that consistent brand voice. And it's got to be absolutely consistent and fully integrated with every other platform you're working on. Again, somewhat common sense, but a lot of people still have social down in the back corner or down in the basement or somewhere else. It's got to have crystal clear content briefs so that everyone's working towards something that then ultimately results in something that's shareable. Because nowadays, whatever you're planning to produce and wherever you plan for it to run, it's got to be shareable. And then most importantly, you got to have systems in place to allow you to curate it and schedule it, and I very specifically choose the word to traffic it. Because I think I mentioned very briefly, we've got nearly 500 brands in over 200 countries. If I recommended every one of those brands update in their local market in their country, let's say 2 times a week, do the math. We're talking about tens of thousands of updates that need to be trafficked. So let's forget about the art that has to go into how good that content is. The simple trafficking alone, which again, many of you know better than I do, is just a massive system. And I think it's one of the places where we're getting it right at Coke. And I say that very humbly because there's an awful lot going on in the space. It's very early. But we've devised some systems that allow all of our agencies and all of our markets to schedule what they want to say in their individual country, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, in Flickr, and in others. So they can put everything into one comfortable, clean application that's something they're comfortable into. They don't have to learn about all different new tools. And then, of course, you got to listen, engage, and optimize and repeat. So that systems piece, though, is where I really want to emphasize. That is absolutely vital to success and actually to scale. So enough about some background, some strategy. I want to share with you just a couple examples. The Maroon 5 example, I'm going to play a video because it tells you the story far quicker than I can. So if you can run that video.
Now, next up, staying awake for 24 hours. It's pretty tough at the best of times, but doing it live on the internet whilst trying to record a smash hit pop song, well, no one would be crazy enough to attempt that, would they?
I won't let anybody hurt you and stop them if they try to. Nobody knows you like I.
We're writing this tune and it I hope it's good. It's not much of a song right now, but it'll get there over the next 21 hours. And it's really trippy because we're going to sleep, I guess, sometimes, and most of the time we'll be awake. So I'm not sure, and it's actually probably a good thing for us because we're on LA time right now. We just flew in from LA, so probably the best thing to do is just to stay awake as long as we possibly can.
They are heading into a London recording studio with Maroon 5 tonight, so teenagers, listen up. Coke is hoping to get you to help the band compose a song during a 24-hour session by using Twitter.
If we knock it out and do the song, then what are we going to do for the extra 20 hours?
The pop rockers took up the challenge to write and record a track from scratch using inspiration from their fans around the world.
It was kind of a revolutionary idea because we're so used to having, to take our sweet time with things. and also not to have the added pressure of doing it in front of lots of people. So just that whole thing is really cool. We like to always try things differently because it's one of those things where music is such a weird thing now, where it's just a different business, it's a different world. So we want people to be as connected to the whole process as possible. So it seemed like it was right up our alley.
And the technology that exists now to sort of connect us to the fans all over the world in real time has never really existed. So it's cool to be on the forefront of this sort of new frontier.
Well, we're using Twitter primarily. We've done something on Facebook as well, but Twitter's the primary channel. We're putting out challenges there, giving teams choices of things that they can vote for. They're coming back via Twitter.
Send in some more ideas.
Het was er een tijdje stil rond Maroon 5, maar ze vonden het nu tijd voor een stunt. Er werd een livestreaming opgezet, zodat fans hen inspiratie konden geven voor teksten of de melodie. Het resultaat van de live-sessie kan je op 1 april gratis downloaden op de site van Coca-Cola.
They can go to coca-cola.com/music and check it out.
Download it for free. It's going to be for free from Coke, so thanks for that.
Other things that are free: smiles, happiness,
Hugs. Sometimes.
This one's free for you, bro.
Oh.
Ameriška skupina Maroon 5 je podrla virtualne stene studia.
Maroon 5's Adam Levine has entered a recording studio in London with Coca-Cola, and an army of Twitter followers have been enlisted to help him write the new song. Now, the stunt aims to compose a song within 24 hours.
That's it. 24 hours of creativity, sponsored by Coca-Cola. And we think great things came of it, and it was a unique experience, it was an amazing experience, and hopefully it'll go down in the Guinness Book of World Records as a crazy, weird experience that was awesome. We'll be under that category, exactly. This was great, and I'm going to go pass out for 4 days.
So I share that example with you for a number of reasons. One, it was March 22nd. We released the single for free on April 1st. Hopefully it will be a hit song. And I share that with you very specifically because it's a great case study internally for apply and reuse. Because literally 1 week after this, we got word of this 125th celebration. Now naturally we knew for, I guess, 124 years the 125th was going to come. Or at least we were hopeful we'd be around. But we became involved. And I want to show you next how we applied and kind of reused some of those assets. This particularly was one site. It was a day and 22 hours prior to last Friday when we actually had a massive celebration. But a lot of the technology you're going to see in the next video, and it's just a 1-minute video, is the same technology you just saw. So that's the segue I'm trying to make. I'm trying to paint and show you about how systems actually allow these things to happen and allow these things to be spreadable and allow these things to be 100% consistent across all mediums. So that's the message I want you to watch this as you watch, what I want you to think about.
Hi, Dusty and Michael, Coca-Cola Facebook page creators.
We just reached 25 million likes on Facebook.
And serendipitously, we are also celebrating the 125th anniversary of Coca-Cola.
So, to thank all the fans, we decided to make a really big cake.
A huge thank you and a huge cake.
Celebrate with us. Upload your favorite Coke memories on Facebook, Flickr, Twitter. We're gonna need more Coke!
We're gonna need a bigger bowl.
So those are the two guys that created our Coca-Cola fan page. At the time, just a short story if you're not aware of it, at the time we had probably about 150 different Coca-Cola fan pages. And our recognition was just that, they're fan pages. It wouldn't make sense for us to run a fan page for ourselves. However, the way things have kind of worked together, instead of taking over a page like most brands did, or creating one and then squashing the others, we decided to partner with them. So that is them, and we're working an awful lot with them. And the next video I'm going to show you actually lines up with my comments earlier. They were a little out of order. But that's how close they are to our business. We talk to them almost every single day. We are partners in the management of our entire Facebook strategy. And it just so happens that one was an actor, one was a writer. Could have been anyone in any corner of the world. But fortunately, they had some talent for us, and they become great advisors in this space. But this next screen, very, very busy, but shows you that same consistent look and feel the systems allow us to have. Okay, so now you've seen Dusty and Michael from a social space transfer into many other spaces. In fact, we had a concert event on Saturday for 20,000 people in Atlanta to celebrate this 125th birthday. They were the host. Now that was live streamed on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Coca-Cola.com. And again, these little guys from some corner of LA that founded a Facebook page are our host. They were up against Ryan Seacrest. They were up against Neo. They were up against quite a few other big-name artists. So this, again, shows you the consistency you can have with systems. And if you can run the next video, you'll see what took place that evening. This is 1-minute compilation of the application of the same technology from the Maroon 5 24-hour session. So that's our 26-story building in Atlanta, and it's our effort to thank our partners, consumers, friends, in this case the City of Atlanta, and it's the beginning of a year-long celebration to thank everyone that's helped this brand get to where it's at. And then finally, I'll share one final example with you. This is us opening up our archives. At Coca-Cola, people certainly work all around the world, and very few people get a chance to go down into the basement and actually see the phenomenal Andy Warhols and all this great paraphernalia. Right there is a guitar from Eric Clapton that was used in a concert in Germany. And until very recently, very, very few people ever had a chance to see it. And as part of our way of thanking all fans around the world, this particular site, which we don't have time to show you, allows you to literally physically walk through all of the archives and see every single piece that's been digitally recognized and digitally segmented. And even more importantly, it's not only saying, look what we've got, it's saying, show us what you've got. So the biggest section of the site is saying, go into your attics, go into your basements, pull out that great piece of Coca-Cola memorabilia and share it with the world. Because if I can go way back to the very beginning, I said the #1 insight we have is that in each of these social spaces, people assembled around our brand before we got there. And we know for a fact, because it was before we got there, that it wasn't to have our advertising blasted at them, wasn't necessarily to hear from us. It was to share their manifestations of their brand with each other. And again, finally, just want to say thank you to all of you that have worked with our brand for so long, and appreciate you listening.